So the Bible reading today is going to be Nehemiah 2:11 to 18 and 4:1 to 8. This is from Nehemiah's words, by the way, so he's actually talking and saying this story. I went to Jerusalem, and after staying there 3 days, I set out during the night with a few others. I had not told anyone what my God had put in my heart to do for Jerusalem. There were no mounts with me except the one I was riding on. By night, I went out through the valley gate towards the Jackal Well and the Dung Gate, examining the walls of Jerusalem, which had been broken down, and its gates, which had been destroyed by fire. Then I moved on toward the Fountain Gate and the King's Pool, but there was not enough room for my mount to get through. So I went up the valley by night, examining the wall. Finally, I turned back and re-entered through the valley gate. The officials did not know where I'd gone or what I was doing, because as yet I had said nothing to the Jews or the priests or the nobles or officials or any others who had been doing the work. Then I said to them, "You see the trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we no longer be in disgrace." I also told them about the gracious hand of my God on me and what the king had said to me. They replied, "Let's start rebuilding." So they began this good work. And then for chapter 4. When Sanballat heard that we were rebuilding the wall, he became angry and greatly incensed. He ridiculed the Jews, and in the presence of his associates and the army of Samaria, he said, "What are these feeble Jews doing? Will they restore their wall? Will they offer sacrifices? Will they finish in a day? Can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble, burned as they are?" Tobiah the Ammonite, who was at his side, said, "What are they building? Even a fox climbing up on it would break their wall of stones." "Hear us, our God, for we are despised. Turn their insults back on their own heads. Give them over as plunder in a land of captivity. Do not cover their guilt or blot out their sins from your sight, for they have thrown insults in the face of the builders." So we rebuilt the wall till all of it reached half its height, for the people worked with all their heart. But when Sanballat, Tobiah, the Arabs, the Ammonites, and the people of Ashdod heard that the repairs to Jerusalem's walls had gone ahead and the gaps were being closed, they were very angry. They all plotted together to come and fight against Jerusalem and stir up trouble against it.
Thanks, Ruth. Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. Good to be here at Night Church. How fun was that trivia night last week? It was pretty awesome. I think our team was robbed, don't you? I think we were winning. Anyway, but it was great. Let's do that again, hey? Thanks again, Amaris. That was really fun. You know, we don't get to the cinema much anymore. Do any younger people go to the movies anymore? Yeah, okay, maybe, cool. Well, I love it when we do, but we don't go as much as we used to. We've all got these big flat screens at home and these streaming services. So, you know, the temptation is to kind of stay in and watch, but there's something special about going to the movies. I love going to the cinema. And I tell you what, growing up, I looked forward to it so much. It was, you know, particularly a school holidays thing, and it was special. Now, there were a few draw cards, the choc tops, the popcorn, the arcade games in the foyer. I loved those things, still kind of do. But it was the movies that drew me in. You know, it was the stories that hooked me. You know, when it was the big screen drew me in, and particularly when the story was good, I was just absorbed. Really, I loved it. Now, my mum loves to remind me, when I was 5 or 6, we went to the Never Ending Story. Anyone know that movie, Never Ending Story? And I wept pretty much throughout the whole thing. It's very emotional. And you know what I did at the end of it? I begged to be taken again. So they took me 2 more times, which I think is kind of mean because I cried through the other ones as well. There was just something about that movie that got me. You know, it was great. There's a story to Atreyu. Do you remember Atreyu? Yeah. I tell you what, is it Artax the horse dies? Oh man, that's Sarah. You know, you're nodding. You know it. But there's something about that, right? There's a great hero in it. It's a fantasy world that takes you away to a special place, and that there's a great quest. that has to take place as well. I recently watched the movie Never Ending Story with my kids. Big disappointment. That movie has not aged well, and my kids thought it was so lame and it was so sad. I mean, the CGI is pretty bad, and they kept just paying it out the whole time. You can almost see like the hands holding up some of the, it is 40 years old. It's not great. But anyway, I love the movie. All right, what we're going to do now, turn to the person next to you. You got 30 seconds each. Share your favorite movie. What is your favorite movie? Go. It can be top 10, top 5, whatever. Go. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, come on. All right. Let's come on back. That's good to hear. All right, yell out some. What was some? I heard some good ones. Give me some. Oh, okay, Blade Runner. Babe? Nice. Okay, yep. Nice. Classic. There were some good ones over here. Yeah, Shawshank. Absolutely. Nice. Okay. Any others? Lord of the Rings. I know, Sarah. Nerdy Lord of the Rings. It's okay. I am one nerd too. I love it. Man, I love it. I'm guessing whatever your movie was, it's got maybe one of these elements. I could be wrong. Maybe not 10 Things I Hate About You. We'll see. Actually, maybe. It's got a memorable hero, right? Like a main character that you connected with. So maybe. Yeah, okay. The hero faced big challenges. Yeah. Overcame the odds. Against overwhelming odds, maybe. And they were called into an adventure that's something great. Now, why are we talking about this? Movies, right, they're just stories, aren't they? They're our modern way of telling stories. We've always loved them. Before movies, it was books. Before that, we all loved to gather around the campfire for who knows how long to hear the stories. You can imagine kids throughout the ages saying, "Dad, tell me that one again." We love stories. There's something about them. They capture our imagination. And I think the reason that they're so popular and why they capture our imagination, it's because they tap into something really human. They tap into something deep. And here's what I think it is. They tap into our longing for rescue. Don't you reckon? Our longing for purpose. Our longing for transformation. The part of Nehemiah that we're looking at today feels a lot like a great story. Hey, it is a great story. And I tell you what, it's almost plays out like a Hollywood film, like a great narrative. It actually follows a well-known pattern, which is called the hero's journey, or something called the monomyth. Right? Stay with me here. This structure, right, moves from the hero's call to adventure, like a call to action, through resistance and trials, and then into victory, often against overwhelming odds. Now, I think there's so many of these movies. Think Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Braveheart. I think I heard Gladiator over here. That yeah. 10 Things I Hate About You. No, probably not. I don't know, actually. It's been a while since I've seen it. Moana has this as well. Never Ending Story even has this thing. So many stories follow this particular archetype. Now, Nehemiah's journey, Nehemiah, the story, has a lot of these things. And his journey also is going to teach us a lot about leadership. You may have even noted that from the reading. In fact, there's some change management theory that is drawn directly from this story. But as we move through it, this is what I want to do this morning for the next... Oh, thanks. Oh, you did that before, so we're one each now. Dang it. Okay, so now we're even. This evening, what we're going to do is, for the next 25 minutes maybe, I want to appreciate this great story with you. because it is a great story. And I want to learn some leadership lessons because they're there. So let's do that together. I want to do one more thing. I want to ask the question, what else can we get from this? How else can we mine the depths of Scripture here as followers of Jesus? How do we think about this Christianly as believers? Oh, and I tell you what, there is a great answer to that. How does this point us to the gospel? So let's experience this story together. Are you ready? Are you ready for an epic? We're going to do it looking at the 3 acts, okay? The 3 sort of movements within the hero's journey. Act 1, the problem. A call to action. Act 2, the trials, opposition, enemies. Act 3, the victory against all odds. I know I'm giving it away, but it happened 2,500 years ago, so we know the ending. Okay, let's go to the first one. Let's have a look. The problem. How does this start out? The call to action. We saw some of this last week, so let's spend a minute reviewing Caleb's message from last week. Fantastic message. And he introduced us to Nehemiah. Who is he? He is a Jew living in exile, living in Persia, yet he holds a powerful position in the Persian court. He's a cupbearer, but don't think lowly servant. Cupbearer is almost like a senior official. He has the ear to the king. He has influence. Even though he's a Jew and he's not Persian, he's not from there, he's been promoted to this high place. He gets word from the Jews who've moved back a couple of generations ago into Jerusalem about how they're going. And we've been tracking all of that progress in Ezra, haven't we, as we've been going through that. He hears a report, how they've been going. Well, they've rebuilt the altar, they've rebuilt the temple, but something is seriously wrong. He hears that the city's walls and gates are in disrepair. They're rubble. They're burnt down. And Nehemiah hears this and is totally gutted. Do you remember? He falls down in grief. And now why? Why does it matter? Okay, there's a wall that's crumbled down and the gates are burned. So what? Here's a simple reason. This is why it matters. Because the walls are crumbling and the gates are burned down, Jerusalem is vulnerable, right? They're weak. Anyone who wanted to could pick them off. They are unprotected, open to attack, open to shame, open to mockery. And this, friends, is the moment of crisis in the story, right? The main character, the hero, this is the challenge brought to him. The city walls are broken down and the gates are burned. What are you going to do? What's Nehemiah going to do? It's a pivot point of the story. Think Frodo in The Lord of the Rings, right? When I did that this morning. When the ring lands in his lap. Not the ling, the ring. Maybe got to slow down. When the ring lands in his lap, when Gandalf tells him about the true purpose of this ring and what needs to happen, is he going to shirk the responsibility? You could hardly blame him. Or will he take it on? Or maybe Braveheart, when William Wallace, he's returned from battle and he just wants a peaceful life and that's been shattered. What will he do? Oh, yes, I've got some Scottish people here. Yeah, William Wallace. William Wallace, yes. Will he confront his English oppressors? That's one of my favourites. What's he going to do? Right, these are the call to action moments, and this is Nehemiah's moment. Right. Nehemiah, he is uniquely placed for this moment, isn't he? He's God's man in God's time for God's purpose. If you know anything about the book of Esther, you'll know the famous saying, I am here for, what is it? Such a time as this. Nehemiah the same. God's person in the right place. Coincidence? Nah, God's at work. So, then he goes, so he prays, remember? Chapter 1, he prays, he hears what he prays, and then he goes to the king. Prayer and action. And he asks for protection, provision, permission, and the king grants it. And then he sets off to Jerusalem. That's last week. All right, new material. Let's go. This week, Nehemiah gets to Jerusalem. He arrives. And he does something interesting. He doesn't announce his plans. God's put it on his heart to rebuild these walls, right? To do something big. But he doesn't tell anyone. He gets to town and he goes under the radar. He goes out at night just with a few people and with a horse, and he goes to check out all of the walls and the gates by himself. This is really interesting. If you're tracking with the leadership stuff, this is interesting. Why does he do that? Because good leadership begins with seeing the truth firsthand. He's heard a second-hand report, that's fine, but he doesn't just rely on that. Okay, he walks, he feels it. He gets a sense of it himself. He walks through the rubble. And this is great leadership. People call it incarnational leadership. And of course, that comes from where? Jesus Christ, who left heaven to come to earth, the incarnation, the greatest representation of this. It's the exact opposite of, the boss in the corner office and never goes down to the factory to hang out with the workers, right? No. Good leadership walks the factory floor. You get a feel for it. You walk in the shoes of your employees. It's great leadership Nehemiah is doing here. So he wants to feel the weight of the problem. Then after seeing the damage, what does he do? Next leadership, he goes to the city leaders. Is that right? Yeah, cool. He goes to the city leaders. Chapter 2, verse 17. Nehemiah says to them, the leaders, "You see what trouble we're in? Jerusalem lies in ruins and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem and we'll no longer be in disgrace." I also told them about the gracious hand of my God on me and what the king had said to me. Nehemiah, what does he do here? He defines reality. Someone else calls it the truth is our friend, right? Let's get to the bottom of the problem. And then what he does, he goes to the leaders and he doesn't sugarcoat it. He tells them the truth as he sees it. Doesn't downplay the urgency either. He names the problem and then he casts the vision. Great leadership. He casts the vision. He says to them, come on, guys, let's rebuild. He calls the people to action, but not alone. Do you notice that? He doesn't just go start building the wall by himself. No. He needs that guiding coalition. He needs others. There's a simple leadership truth here. If you think you're leading and you look behind you, no one's following you, you're not leading, you're just taking a walk, right? It's a pretty famous quote in leadership circles. And it's true. Nehemiah knows it. If he's on his own, good luck. Nehemiah knows for him to lead well, he needs the support of the leaders. He needs them to catch the vision. So he tries to win them over, which is great, with truth, vision, and trust in God. He also shares his story, doesn't he? He's like, God put this in my heart. And he's with us. I sense God is with us. Hey, the Persian king, he's given us support. We can do this. Pete, you might want to shut that door. We're getting a bit cold here. Or somebody, Jerry. Thanks, mate. All right. I got your backs. I know it's cold in here. It's not just Nehemiah's idea. God is at work. Now, what's the result? What do the leaders say? They catch the vision. Yes, tick. They say, let's start rebuilding. The people are in. The mission begins. But of course, what happens next? Everyone lived happily ever after. No, what a boring story that would be, right? That's no good story ever starts with the main character gets a problem and then it was easy. No, friends, every good story has enemies, the trial, opposition, yeah? And this story's got it. The great vision of Nehemiah, the people's excitement, what does it do? It draws unwanted attention. The enemies come out. But when Sanballat, and you did very well, Ruth, with these pronunciations, when Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite official, and Geshem the Arab heard about it, they mocked and ridiculed us. What's this you're doing? They asked. Are you rebelling against the king? Of course they're not. They're distorting what they're trying to do. But their mockery doesn't stop the work. Nehemiah presses on. And what we get in the following chapter, if you read chapter 3, you might think, oh, that's a little bit dry. It's just a recording of all the work they've done. And we worked on this gate, and we worked on this gate, and these are the people that did it. And these are the people that didn't help out. Their names are in there too, if you can check it out. It's pretty tough. But, this section is people rebuilding side by side, tools in hand, sleeves rolled up. I like to think about it. This in the movie, what bit is it? It's the montage. It's a mega montage. You know the bit in the movie? Yeah, I think of it like maybe Remember the Titans or something like a sports movie when a pretty underperforming team gets a good coach, there's a good speech, and then the montage is them working, right? They're doing all the exercises and getting better, slowly getting better. That's this bit. Insert your own inspirational song here. Right? Now, I don't know what it is for you. I know for Mike, it's like a Christian death metal kind of screamo song. I know that's his thing. I don't know what it is for you. I know Caleb, it's ABBA Dancing Queen. No, I'm kidding. I don't know what it is. Just taking a swipe. Just saying, it's Jerry. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I love that song. Whatever is your inspirational song, insert here, okay? That's what it is. They're working together and it's teamwork. I love it. It's ordinary people getting together for a great cause. It's inspirational. And by the end of it, they've made a lot of progress, enormous achievement. But guess what? That progress only intensifies the opposition. And the same enemies say, I love this section, they say this, what are these feeble Jews doing? Will they restore the wall? Will they offer sacrifices? Will they finish in a day? As if. Can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble, burned as they are? Someone else chimes in, what they're building, even a fox climbing up it would break down their wall of stones. It's meant to be funny. It may not be very funny to our modern ears, but it's meant to be funny. You can imagine these guys on a hill laughing at these people, slapping each other on the back for outdoing themselves with their witty repertoire, right? This is what they're doing. Now, it's pretty sarcastic. It's kind of petty. And it's oddly modern sounding. It feels a bit like online trolling now. It's the same kind of vibe, isn't it? Here's what's happening. This reveals something serious. Whenever you try to do something significant, opposition follows. You probably know it. Whenever you try to do something significant, opposition follows. Right? Think of the stories we love. Lord of the Rings, Frodo gets closer to Mount Doom. The enemies become darker, more relentless. Braveheart, the louder William Wallace cries for freedom, the fiercer the English crown fights back. Now, I bet you've experienced something like this in your life too. Try to do anything significant, you'll face opposition and challenges. Try to repair a relationship, try to forgive someone deeply, you are going to wrestle with bitterness. Try to witness for Christ. Try and live out your faith. You'll experience pushback. Try and build a church. Try and disciple your kids. Try and prioritize your marriage. Lead with integrity. Friends, you will attract resistance. And it can come from lots of different places, from different angles. Maybe ones we'd expect, like in the story, people we might think are against us. Yep. Unfortunately, it can also come from close quarters. Sometimes it can come from family and friends, relationships we wouldn't expect it. Sometimes it comes from our own mind, our own insecurities. And friends, we live in a spiritual world and we fight a spiritual battle. Whether you want to believe it or not, whether you like the sound of that or not, it is true. You and I are facing a spiritual battle. Be aware of it. Opposition can come from many places. So how does Nehemiah respond? Verse 4. He prays. It's an interesting prayer, so stay with us on this. He prays, "Hear us, O God, for we are despised. Turn their insults back on their own heads. Give them over as plunder in the land of captivity. Do not cover up their guilt or blot out their sins from your sight, for they have thrown insults in the face of the builders." Interesting prayer. It's not a soft prayer, is it? It's raw, it's honest. It's a smite them, Lord prayer. You ever prayed that? Smite them, Lord. I can kind of relate to Nehemiah. I mean, these people are coming against God and God's plans. Is he right to pray that? Let's come back to that as a good question. Let's sit with that for a moment. So what's next, I think, is really striking. Right? He prays, and you know what happens next? Things don't get easier, they get harder. They don't get easier, they get harder. And what I love about Nehemiah is he doesn't conclude, oh, God's abandoned me. I mean, I prayed about it and it's getting worse. So obviously God is against me. Now, I've been tempted to think that before in my life. Maybe you have too. But friends, we need resilience in the face of tough times. Nehemiah doesn't give up because he knows what he's trying to do is really difficult and it won't be easy. And so they do continue to make progress even though things get harder. Verse 6 says, so we rebuilt the wall till it reached half its height. Yes, achievement, for the people worked with all their heart. It's great. It's awesome. They don't fold, they persevere, but the pressure keeps building. And the final test is still to come. And here we are, the final movement in our 3-act story. Climax, resolution, victory against all odds. Here we go. Well, the enemies are furious, and rightly so. The wall's going up, the gaps are closing now. Right? So the mocking now from the enemies, you know what the mocking now becomes? It becomes plotting and threats of violence. Okay, wow, temperature's turned up. Things are getting real now. And how does Nehemiah respond this time? Chapter 4, verse 9. We prayed to our God and posted a guard day and night to meet this threat. Now, we touched on this last week, but I love this. I love it. This is faith in action. We prayed and we posted a guard. I love it. We prayed and posted a guard. Not just we prayed and not just we posted a guard. They did both. Nehemiah here leads with trust in God and tactical wisdom. We can do both. Prayer and planning, faith and grit. Right? That's great leadership in the thick of difficult times. But even with a plan, the people begin to break under pressure. What we have is, this is the tipping point. This is the moment. This is the hardest point in the story. The people are struggling. They're being tested in 2 ways. The first thing, that we're told that their strength is giving out. They're tired. These people aren't professional builders probably, and they've been working on the wall for days and days and days around the clock, and they're tired, right? They're exhausted. The next thing, the plotting of the enemy is getting to them. I reckon the enemy has probably sent rumors and spies out to spread rumors amongst the city, and they're hearing all what's going to happen? Like the enemy's among. I reckon they're working, and it's, where is the enemy? I could be working and get stabbed in the back, and the fear is rising. So they're tired and they're scared. Not a good combination. This is the crisis moment in the movie, right? In our story. This is it. Exhausted, burned out, overwhelmed and scared. Job's too big. Enemies too strong. The doubts are too loud. This is it. Morale is collapsing. Think Lord of the Rings, Frodo, on the slopes of Mount Doom. Sam's left him. He can't make it on his own. Insurmountable odds. Braveheart, the Scots facing betrayal and defeat. Right? In these moments, good leadership is so important. The people are tired and scared. And I feel for Nehemiah because they're all looking at him. Leadership's hard. What do we do? And what does he do? First thing he does is he acts. He acts. He arranges the workers in the weakest places with weapons and then rallies the people with a speech. It's a great moment. Chapter 4, verse 14. This is the Braveheart moment right here. Yes, he says, don't be afraid of them. I won't do an accent. Don't be afraid of them. He says, remember the Lord who is great and awesome, and fight for your families, your sons and daughters, your wives and your homes. This is a great moment, a stirring speech. I don't know why they haven't made a movie of this yet. It's awesome. Nehemiah here shows us great leadership. He doesn't sugarcoat the threat. He meets it with courage. But friends, let's notice this. Where does he anchor their hope? It's not on the wall. And it's not in great strategy, not in his leadership. What does he say? He says, remember the Lord. He points to God, who is awesome and who is great. And friends, you know what this is? This is the turning point in the story. This is it. The enemies witness this. They may have heard the cry after his speech, but now the enemies get scared themselves. Oh, the people are organized. They're all working far out. They've got leadership. The wall's still going up. Oh. And the plot is foiled. And they've won the day. God's people have won the day. The enemy backs off, the people return to work. But now it's different. There's some cool verses in there, we don't have time to go through it, but of when the people are told, no, you have a trowel, like a shovel in one hand and a sword in the other. Be ready to work, be ready to fight. It's awesome. Gets you fired up. Now, despite more opposition in chapter 6, the wall's finally completed. It's done. Amazing. Victory has come despite overwhelming odds. Time to celebrate. And they do, which we're going to look at in future weeks. What a story. Isn't it cool? What a great story. You may not have known much about Nehemiah before. Now you know a little bit. It's cool. Awesome story. With our last remaining minutes, I want to spend some time asking the question we asked at the beginning. How do we think about this story as Christians? How do we think about this with a gospel lens? How are we to do that? Well, Nehemiah, he is a remarkable leader. He models courage, faith, wisdom under pressure. And he inspires people to action, lifts them when they're low, points people to God. Awesome. Let's appreciate that. He's a man worth following. It's great. But I tell you what, he's still not the man we need. He's still not the man we worship. You see, even the best of us, a Nehemiah, can only really be a shadow of the one we really need. The one who's going to deal with the serious problems facing humanity today. Nehemiah, he's a leader worth following, but we need more than that. We need a leader worth worshipping. And as I was preparing and reading this passage this week, just, kind of letting it wash over me, asking the Lord what's in there for us, that chapter 4, the beginning, where those people are mocking God's people, it really stayed with me. It's kind of funny, and it's sort of in my imagination. I was toying with it, but I couldn't help think of another time, a few hundred years later, where another group of people mocked somebody in a very similar geographical place, actually just outside the city walls that are being repaired at this point. And of course, that place is called Golgotha. And Jesus Christ, as he was strung up on the cross and lifted up, awful things were hurled at him, mocking, insults, humiliating things that are quite similar to the things we just heard in Nehemiah. Nehemiah was seeking to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Jesus Christ, as he hung there, was seeking to rebuild something far more significant that affects you and I even to this day. That is, of course, our relationship with God, Creator with created ones. That's what he's repairing right there. Jesus Christ, as he hung on that Roman cross, received these words. He saved others, let him save himself. He trusts God? Well, cool then. Let's see if God turns up for him. Let's see if God delivers him. They mocked him. All hail, King of the Jews. Okay, if you're the Son of God like you said you were, prove it. Come down from the cross. The mockery is similar, dripping with contempt, aimed to humiliate. But friends, there's a critical difference in how these two leaders respond. Nehemiah, let's go back to that prayer he prayed. What did he pray? He was mocked. What did he do? Lord, smite them. Bring down fire upon them. That's what he's saying. Lord, hold their guilt against them. Don't forgive them, Lord. They don't deserve it. When Jesus was mocked and spat on and nailed to that cross, what did he say? You know it. He said something different. He said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. Friends, that is utterly otherworldly, is it not? Thunder for effect. Thanks, Lord, that was perfect timing. See what we can do here at church. But isn't that, just think about that. Nehemiah's prayer is so totally understandable, isn't it? Lord, destroy them. And I get that. I've wanted to pray those things before. But Jesus Christ, the man that we worship, the man that has changed the world with his definition of love, said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. Whenever I read and think about this moment, the most astounding thing is he hangs on that cross, dying for the very ones who were hurling insults at him. When I was young, I remember hearing the story of the crucifixion, probably lots of times. Maybe the first time was at Easter. And I remember the pastor sharing the story and all the details. And it was vivid in my mind because it is a vivid scene. It's brutal. There's violence there. There's tragedy. There's sadness. And I remember hearing the people mocking. And I thought I was horrified by it. And the soldiers and the awful things that they did and said. And I loved to picture myself inserting myself in the story as a superhero. You know? I wanted to be there. And if I was there, I would have beaten up the soldiers. And I would have, kicked over the Jewish leaders. And I would have got up there and I would have got Jesus off that cross. And I would have helped him. I was a kid, bear with me. But I remember thinking that. And it's funny in this story, like, I automatically want to relate to Nehemiah. I think of myself, yeah, that's me. But the truth is, friends, in both stories, the truth is I need to identify myself with the people at the cross who were hurling the insults. As horrifying as that is, a beautiful hymn, we're going to sing it in a moment, says, ashamed I hear my mocking voice call out among the scoffers. It was my sin that held him there until it was accomplished. His dying breath has brought me life. I know that it is finished. Friends, if we want to benefit from the victory that Jesus won on the cross, we must identify ourselves as sinners, right? It was my sin that held him there. It's confronting, isn't it? But through this pain comes good. All right, finally, what else are we going to learn? Just one more thing. We learn about Christian leadership. And friends, there's a difference. What is it? Pretty simple. The whole aim of Christian leadership is to point to him. Point to the one we worship. And Nehemiah does this well, doesn't he? He rallies the people with a great speech. Remember the Lord is great and awesome. This is what Christian leadership does. It's not look at me, it's look to him. Because friends, I can't save you. Caleb can't, Mike can't, we can't. Jesus Christ is the only one that can save. He can redeem, he can heal. And we point to him. We don't lead people to admire us. We lead them to trust in Christ. So friends, as we finish, let's be inspired by Nehemiah and let's appreciate a great story. Let his example call you to courage and perseverance and vision. But don't stop there. Look through Nehemiah to Jesus, the one who is worthy of our worship. The one who endured those insults on the cross so he could secure your freedom, so he could pay for your sin. He rose again from the dead. The empty tomb proves that he defeated death and sin, and we can claim that for ourselves if we are in Christ. May this story remind you of these things, of Jesus, the one whose ultimate victory is won not with sword or stone, but with the cross and the empty tomb.